the two considerations that we have for that company is one, how do we inject this human element, right? Because we're still humans in this ever evolving AI world. But we talk about how we inject human element into AI and technology and how we blend that and make it usable and a feature that adds to the experience and not necessarily takes over the experience. Because, well, first of all, they're kids, their ages, under 6. So we think that that personal interaction is very important, but with the use of AI.
If AI feels overwhelming, you're not behind. You're just busy running a business. New tools pop up every week and then no one has time to figure out what actually works. At LionEdge AI, we take AI off your plate so you can focus on running your business. We review your setup, choose the right tools, and run AI systems across sales, customer support, and operations. No noise, no learning curve. LionEdge AI, your unfair advantage in the AI era.
Zack Hansen is a man of many hats. From preschool pioneer to financial literacy crusader, this founder's relentless energy and diverse ventures would make even the most seasoned entrepreneur dizzy. But as Zack shared, the secret to juggling it all just might lie in the power of AI. So buckle up, because in this episode, we're diving into how Zack is using cutting-edge tech to scale his companies without sacrificing the human touch. Trust us, you won't want to miss this. Hello and welcome to the show, Zack Hansen. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you today?
Good to see you back again. We had a little chat before. Please introduce yourself. And in your case, it's not just one company. It might be multiple companies that you're involved with. And definitely describe us, what does it mean that one man involved in so many companies, or at least multiple, right? Please.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Zack Hansen, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it. So as you said, yes, there's multiple companies I'm involved in. So I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an angel investor. I'm involved in venture capital, as well as real estate. So there's 7 main operating companies that I am a core either operator or advisor on, as well as I'm invested into about 25 different companies as an angel investor and different funds as a venture capitalist. So absolutely have a full plate, but it's, for me, it's fun. This isn't work. It's something that I get to do every day. So I love it.
Yeah, it reminds me, doing this podcast, I sometimes feel that, hey guys, I need to pay you guys because I'm enjoying it too much. But um so so what's interesting about you, and I had the opportunity to learn a little bit in our previous chat, is that you get to see or experience the companies that you are involved with, which we're gonna talk about in a minute, but you get involvement in different aspects, right? You have some of them, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that was my impression, right? But there is a company that you are more intimately involved and, make the daily decisions, let's just say. And there might be companies that you're more on the investor side and the right, and the board, and then it's an overview, right? And maybe there's companies that you are directly involved in product, the definition and product, decisions making, right? Whereas in some companies, it's more on the operational, right? So please walk us through those various companies and and what exactly your role in, and what your contribution to this.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll talk about the 4 companies that I lead or am in a leading role. And so the first one is Growing Brilliant. It's a virtual learning program for children ages 2 to 6. So we're really offering a revolutionary new service for families that really want the best for their child, right? So we want to take a child wherever they are developmentally, and we want to advance and progress them. And really, what we're doing is preparing them for kindergarten, for life, and beyond. We're giving them a head start, right? So we have really amazing teachers where we teach our program live. So anywhere in the country, no matter where you are, you can participate in our program. So these live teachers lead these classes. They're hands-on activities. that they're getting in the classes. So they're sculpting, they're building, they're creating art projects, they're reading interactive stories, they're interacting with other children all around the country. But again, the end goal is to develop them. So there's some really interesting statistics out there. 90% of brain development actually happens before age 5, right? So it's some of the most important years of our entire life. So, what are families and parents doing to really prepare them and to set them up for success? Well, Growing Brilliant is tackling that issue, and we're doing it in a really fun way. So, yeah, I love Growing Brilliant. And that company was founded in 2013, and I spend a significant amount of time on it. And the two considerations that we have for that company is one, how do we inject this human element, right? Because we're still humans in this ever evolving AI world. But we talk about how we inject human element into AI and technology and how we blend that and make it usable and a feature that adds to the experience and not necessarily takes over the experience. Because, well, first of all, they're kids, their ages, under 6. So we think that that personal interaction is very important, but with the use of AI. Next company is called Revescape. This is a SaaS-based company that helps property managers and service-based companies and providers with communication tools, with invoicing tools, with job validation tools. So it basically makes property managers and maintenance managers' jobs much easier because and this uses a significant amount of AI to ensure that the communication and job is complete, not only complete, but they source vendors properly. So, that's a very, very exciting company. Another one is called Link2MD. It's a workers' comp company. So again, technology based. So we use telemedicine and technology to service and help out companies that have injured employees. So when an employee is injured on the workforce, we use real live doctors that communicate and coordinate with injured employees for telemedicine. And then we have AI and technology on the back end that supports that entire interaction. And then the final kind of, I guess, main operating company, it's called Legacy Lab, and this is a financial literacy program that serves all ages. And we're really focusing on we're launching this now, but we're focusing on kind of ages 18 to 40 to start. And it's just, there's a huge problem in this country right now with financial literacy. It's insane that in high schools, elementary schools, and even colleges, they don't actually teach the students financial literacy. They don't teach them interest rates. They don't teach them core subjects on investing to actually set them up for success in their life in the real world, right? So we're tackling that problem head on, and we're using, again, real world teachers and blending that with AI and technology. And then some of the other ones are real estate and then investment based. But yeah, I just got back from CES in Las
Yeah.
Vegas.
How
Oh
was
man,
it?
it was unbelievable. I mean, all of the things that I'm seeing as an investor and an entrepreneur. You had mentioned, one of the benefits of wearing many hats and being involved in many businesses, that I am, you really get to see some of the technology and some of the life-changing things that are going to eventually make it to the marketplace. I get to see and be involved in that stuff, sometimes months and oftentimes years and decades before it actually hits the public market. So, I mean, what you're going to see and what you think is out now and what you're going to see in the future, it's going to blow you away. I mean, we are at the single, I think, most transformative and interesting period in humanity. I think when we look back 100 years from now, we look back at today, they're going to study us and they're going to talk about us. And we're really going through one of the most pivotal times in humanity. And I don't know if the general public really realizes that or appreciates it, but we're literally living through history.
You know, I have now hundreds of questions to ask, so I don't know where
Yeah.
to start.
Yeah.
But you know what? Let's start from the end for a second. Since you mentioned CES, and unfortunately, I missed it this year. due to other obligation I had, unfortunately. But I saw some of the videos. But from your perspective, and I can't agree more to what you said about the future, and you, and in a certain way also me, we get to see things, as you just mentioned, before the public sees them. And sometimes, I find myself in conversation, in social conversation, where people talk about things that, guys, what are you talking about? This, I saw this a year ago, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like there is this phases, right? When the first the early adopters, or the one that early interested like us, right? that goes to the shows, and our daily work is involved in innovation, then we get to see things that the mainstream sees only later. So I'm wondering if you could choose, let's say, up to three uh, presentations, or devices, or software that you saw in CES that got you the most, that you were most impressed, what would that be?
Oh, yeah, that's pretty easy for me. And I think I'll talk about that in a minute. And I think the concept of where we're going to is applicable to almost any industry, right? So it really starts off with, there's probably three levels of this. So it starts off with one, the software and how this AI and technology can make our lives easier and how we interface it. So the first level is the user prompting and interfacing with it. So what you see in ChatGPT or Claude, or Grok, for example, right now, you go in and you're asking it a question and it comes back to you. That's level one. And the majority of, businesses and consumers are really in that stage one phase right now. The second phase of this is more agentic, right? So you're taking this AI technology and you're having agentic agentic offerings where the AI is working really on your behalf. And then as the AI is working on your behalf, it's also communicating with other AI. So agents are talking to agents. So you've got, a human being is a little bit more or a lot more removed from those types of situations, but they're still guiding it, right? And still creating it. And then you've got kind of the third piece of AI is autonomous, right? And these agentic agents are acting in full autonomy, and they're completing tasks based on whatever the protocol or the mission or the end goal is, and with very little human intervention or none, depending on the interaction. So you've got those kind of three layers of AI. Then you've got this intersection of hardware, right? So you see that CES was filled with hardware, right? You've got the amount of robots that I saw doing so many different things, like one, mowing the lawn, doing your laundry, doing your dishes, skimming your pool, cleaning your pool, being helpers that will follow you around your house, answer your door, right? So you're layering on AI and now injecting that into this hardware, right? So there was some unbelievable stuff there.
Give us one example, and you know what? Let me guide you on that.
Yeah,
Because you know uh the pool cleaning, and grass mowing and all that, we know those. Or the vacuums that wander around in the house and
yep,
clean the floor. We know these for years, right? And they fully automatically, doing their thing. No AI was involved, or very little
right.
smart algorithm to guide them around. But what I want you actually to maybe share with us, the humanoid robot that you've seen, and especially you mentioned doing the dishes. All right, so I have a dishwasher, but somebody needs to get it in. Is that what you're referring to?
100%. Yep. So
Yeah.
So, you've got helpers now that are going to be in your home, and some of these are available on pre-order. And you're going to see these starting to launch in 2026. So that's the difference, right? Yes, you've got a dishwasher. I mean, in technical, that's a piece of technology, right? Where it just washes your dishes now, but you have to load it, you have to unload it, you have to put the detergent in. Yeah, but that is the natural progression. Then is you've got a humanoid robot that is loaded with AI, and you communicate with it and say, all right, well, we need to do housekeeping tasks. So one of those is the dishes. So you go and see when there's dishes in the sink, Mr. Robot or Mrs. Robot. Uh, Scan it, use computer vision, and determine whether those dishes need to go in or not. Then place them in there, put the detergent, close it,
Wow.
and you also need to be smart enough to know when it's done, to then, okay, you don't want to open the door too early, if it's still running, and then you need to put those dishes away without, okay, shattering them, because so there's a lot of very intense technology that goes into it. um, and so you've got a lot of technology like that being built out. And so take that concept of what we just talked about, and from a business lens, anything that you can think of is being automated, or the thought process, the ideation is happening with that type of automation. So across every single industry imaginable, whether it's a software application for now, it's an agentic application, or it's a true hardware application, there there is somebody ideating and thinking through how they can automate those processes. I mean, you've got airlines that are presenting and are completely automating the process of how airplanes, even when they land, how they come into dock. We used to have humans that guided them in. Now robots are being presented to do that. They've got baggage carousels that used to be driven by humans and then loaded onto the airplane. Well, all of that is happening autonomously. So, one of the big things, and I think an important note to a lot of the people watching is, well, how does this affect me? And one, as a business, and two, as a, either a founder, an employee, or a consumer. I think it's really important now to keep your eye on how industry is evolving and how we can participate in these things. Because again, go to CES, look at some, from an angel or venture capital perspective, the conversations that are happening is, how do we get more efficient, right? And with that, there's going to be a lot of change in how humans are going to interact, right? Do we need humans to necessarily load bags in the next couple of years? Are they going to be loading, like housekeepers? Are they going to be, doing the laundry or loading dishes, or cleaning the pools, or even plumbing, right? Or customer service agents. So these are all evolving. And I think the general public needs to not only be aware, but they need to be thinking about how this is going to impact them.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and that's the benefit of seeing those trends way before it hit the mass market and the street, right?
Yeah.
Which especially if you're a venture capitalist and a leader, you want to know that. So this was great. Now let's go back to Zach's world, right? So I like I mentioned, I have so many questions. I'm even not sure where to start. But you know what? I think I'm gonna start with the kids because that's the most.
Yeah,
And if I read you right, I think that's your baby. That's your, like, real baby, right?
it is.
And if would I be wrong to say that you found it, like you are the literally founder and right and put all your soul into it? And so we're talking about growing brilliant, and yeah, we can see that the name behind you. So what I liked a lot about what you said is it's so true. The early ages, which we don't, it's hard to see for us. I'm a parent, so I've seen this, firsthand. But it's hard to see progress, and it's hard to know uh, what the kids is getting, right? Like what they're absorbing. But research shows that they do. Just like you mentioned, the problem is that we as adults, we cannot qualify what, you know, what got in, because they don't yet have the means to express what they learn, right? So so that's super important. And I hope that, I mean, you can, my question would be is, you know, this market very well. um what do you think is the awareness, and especially here in America, for the importance of this phase, and the service that you guys provide? And the reason I'm asking is, how come, because if you understand this, right, and me as someone who has experience, right, how come that not everyone is uh having or subscribing to your service or something similar, because it's super critical, right? It's those years where, and I'm gonna finish with that. It's those years where, as you mentioned, the brain is developed. A lot of your patterns that gonna impact you as an adult almost all your life are being set at this phase. So you really want to make sure that you're doing the best you can to give your kids. So my question is about awareness. What do you think the public? Where is it the public in this? Is it only a small percentage of, people that realize that? Is it social thing that maybe relates to can I afford it? What's your thought on that?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question for many reasons. So from an awareness standpoint, I think that first starts off with desire, right? I mean, parents are we know parents love their children. I've got a 3 and an 11-year-old, and I know every parent out there loves their child to death, right? So and they want the best for them. With that said, having a child is a lot of work when you balance that with career, when you balance that with social life, just meeting their essential needs, and the kind of controlled chaos that goes around, especially having a 6-year-old or under, right? There's a lot that's going on, and there's a lot that that parents want for their child, right? So the desire is there, but the majority of the population out there that is a parent is not a teacher or an educator. So, yes, they want the best for their child. They want them to grow up. They want to capitalize on these early years, and everyone's doing their best, but they might not know where to go. And there's a lot of noise too, right? With social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you're getting pelted with influencers and experts and the best version of every person on the planet, saying, do this, do that, don't do this, you can't do that, you must do this. Why are you not doing this? Right? So this is one of the greatest times in humanity, but it's also a very chaotic and hectic time. So parents just, one, aren't always experts in early childhood education, and two, they don't always know where to go. But Growing Brilliant is trying to solve that problem, right? So our solution is for parents that obviously, yes, do want the best for their child, but they may not be the experts. We are. We have expert teachers, we have expert curriculum that guide these lessons based on over 65 different subjects that your child is going to need and they're going to encounter for the rest of their lives, right? So social, emotional, and intellectual foundations are taught in our classes, and Growing Brilliance classes. They're taught with live, real teachers. And these children are 6 and under, right? So the classes need to be fun and they need to be exciting, or else you're going to lose them, right? They're not going to participate. So we like to say that not all screen time is made equal, right? There's some screen time that's made for pure entertainment. There's some screen time that's called edutainment. It's entertaining and it's educating.
I
And then
see.
there's screen time that's hands-on, that's interactive, that's real. And really our program is, we're taking screen time and it's not created equal because we're using the screen as a medium. The
Yeah.
education really isn't happening on the screen. It's happening in the real world when they're building, when they're sculpting, right? When they're creating. And so it's where screen meets the real world. And so I think in general, parents, they're using all of the resources that they can, and they're doing the best that they can. And there just aren't really a lot of great product offerings that really have true outcome in mind. And the outcome is what are we trying to do with this child? Are we trying to increase their opportunity of getting into a really great school? Are we trying to increase the chances of them having a really great social network and a social understanding, right? And really increases their chances of building their intellect, which is going affect their potential earnings over time. And then there's the whole social and emotional regulation, which I think is the most important piece. True wealth is not gauged monetarily, in my opinion. True wealth is gauged in happiness. So how good is this child's ability to regulate their emotions, right? And to navigate social situations, and to just in general be a happy person and manage those ups and downs in life. Life isn't perfect. It isn't what you always see on social media of the highlight reels, right? So how can you manage that life and still be happy? So we set all of those foundworks and ground.
So every class, right, that I'm participating through the Growing Brilliant program, right, has there is a meaning behind it, and there is a goal that you are trying to achieve. Would that be a right assumption?
Yes, and it's called intentional teaching and intentional learning. So we say that the children have so much fun, they have no idea that they're actually learning, right? If they knew they were learning, it probably wouldn't be as much fun, right? But they really are. They're learning. They're not just sculpting, right? During that sculpting project, we're teaching them colors, we're teaching them numbers, we're teaching them letters, depending on where they are developmentally, right? Whether they're 2 or 6 years old, or where they're at developmentally. We're intentionally teaching them those things through, and we disguise them through really fun activities, right?
Yeah, no, this is beautiful. I just posted coincidentally yesterday in my LinkedIn. I posted an article that shows SoftBank, which is, you probably know them,
Of
right?
course.
The probably the world largest investment bank, or one of the top, right, top five or whatever. So they made two decisions, or at least two out of many, but the two major ones. One is they are laser focusing on AI. So, SoftBank, if you know the history, they had some not so good years, and some of their investment weren't that great. So strategically, they decided they want to focus only on AI startups and AI development.
Yeah.
But the post I made yesterday was actually about edtech and the importance of embedding AI to improve education services. Like, they really found that as not just from financially, aspect, that it's important to invest money in, obviously they're in the business of making money, but also it's important for humanity, and they identify the edtech as one of the segment that they really want to be involved with, by the way. So um, if you need investment, you might want to check them.
Right.
And they mentioned something that relates to what you said. um, they mentioned that, especially, and I think you recognize this already, especially in our time, and the young generation, even from the 2 to 6 years old, right? When AI and the whole digital life, communication skills is key, not just for you to be successful around, human beings, other human beings, but also even your communication with AI. So the better communication skills you have, the better you can get out of AI. And we know that today, prompting. So anybody can use ChatGPT. Anybody think they're smart, but the ones who knows how to ask the question, the ones who knows how to design the prompt right better, then they get better results. So communication skill. And guess where it starts? This at the ages that you're talking about. And these are research that been existing since I I know those research when I was a young parent, many years ago. It's proven that those years are critical, and my thought is now it's even double critical because you need those skills that uh, with the AI and the whole digital life, you're missing that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because it's not our childhood probably is not the same as kids that are born these days, right?
Right.
So absolutely, I see the importance. Now we already spent 30 minutes, and I have so much other question about your other company. So let's do this. Um, we are in this podcast is also about AI. So maybe walk us through every company if you want, or you choose usage of AI. And let's start with the kids. For example, with Born Brilliant. And we mentioned there could be two aspects, right? Whether you use it to maybe enhance your classes in the sessions, or maybe you use it in the back office to you know run operation, customer support, things of that nature. So maybe if you want to choose an example from each company, I mean, you have a lot of overview, and share it with us.
Yeah. So from and I think the successful companies are looking at it under the twofold, right? So you're looking at it, one, how you can um, modernize your back office, your business processes, as you said, and then two, how your customer facing technology and even human interactions and just touch points look, and how you can use AI to enhance those, right? So from, let's, for Growing Brilliant standpoint, so we're utilizing AI to um, make our companies much more efficient in a back office standpoint. I mean, it's touched every single category. And one of the easiest ones are really sales and marketing, right? So ideating, getting back to customers faster. So injecting technologies that, one, identifies gaps. So what we'll do is, we can take all of our chat history that we've had and run that through an AI algorithm, and good, you need to do good prompt engineering, and you ask it, so what types of um, consistent themes are you seeing with issues and points that we can improve on, right? And what consistent themes are you seeing that customers love about our services? So then we take that data and say, oh, okay, well, we can improve this and this, and we need to update our technology, we need to change maybe our customer service workflows, we need to update our website to talk about this or that a little bit more, or we talk about this a little bit too much and they just don't need that. So it really, helps analyze the customer experience and how you can modify those experiences to really just get to the point quicker, and get them the information that the customer needs faster, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then in the customer kind of product facing, we look at it. So for example, we have an assessment that we give to the children and to the families that attend our program, and we assess them when they join the program, and then as they're progressing through the program, we also assess them. um, so these assessments are given, autonomously, and it's given through the use of AI and technology. So these assessments, can change and modify based on where they are developmentally, and then it takes the prompts and the answers that the ultimately the parent enters the information for the child, right? But it's about their child, and then it can output information based on the information that we've given it, and then give really kind of asynchronous things that the child and the parent can focus on to really fill in those learning gaps that they have, right? So and then when they're in class, they can work on these specific things that the AI is outputting. But what you're seeing here is, right. So we have a human that's teaching the class, but we're meshing and molding and interweaving technology in with that, and we're working lockstep with it. So and you'll notice this as a theme for all of my companies. We've got humans that are interacting with other humans, and I think that that shouldn't go away. But you layer in AI and technology, and you assist them, right? And you play to their strengths, and you fill in the gaps in their weaknesses, and then you get them information quicker, right? So that's some of the stuff we're doing for Growing Brilliant. We've got a lot of stuff in the works. You've got Revescape, right? This is the property management SaaS-based tool. Um, so you've got property managers that interface with vendors. So you've got HVAC companies, you've got plumbers, et cetera. So you've got a lot of human interaction happening. Well, we're using AI to analyze those situations and solve a number of problems that property managers are having. So one of the problems is they need to find vendors and source vendors very quickly, right? So imagine you're managing um, 30 properties throughout let's say the 4 different cities, and you've got HVAC issues happening at 10 of these properties, and you need to source vendors to fix those. Well, how can you quickly do that? So Revescape is using AI to leverage vendor not only vendor relationships, but vendors out there in the marketplace to source those vendors quickly through internal and external reviews, customer use cases, and actual interactions that if they've been positive, and it's like, okay, give them a positive star. And we can autonomously source vendors based on a number of prompts that are given. So the AI is being leveraged then to source these interactions based on a number of metrics and inputs, and then we can even autonomously connect and schedule the vendor. Or if this particular customer isn't comfortable with that yet, then they can make the phone call to the vendor and schedule it.
Eh,
So
when you mentioned the scheduling, is that also AI driven? I mean, is the AI?
absolutely. Absolutely. When we talk about agentic, um, and different, because we still are in the infancy of this AI kind of revolution, vendors and customers have different levels of not only sophistication of what they, but kind of risk profile. So not everyone loves the idea of just instantly being, having a vendor scheduled and being booked. They want to be involved in that process. So you can put different constraints in on where that communication or that autonomous agent happens, right? So yeah, but right now we're at the point you can schedule, you can just say, hey, I need a vendor HVAC for my Sacramento location. Go find the best one for me. And then the AI agent will do that work on the behalf, and they can even schedule it, and they'll find the best person, and then they'll communicate with that particular vendor and get it done and follow it all the way through from when the job is happening, send the customer updates, send validation when the job is complete. Here's photos, and AI can handle all of that. Obviously, humans need to take the pictures and input some of the data, but then autonomously the agent will send all of this information in, send an invoice, collect and pay for the invoice after satisfactory completion of
Wow.
job.
So you have an agent or multiple agent, right? That by the way, I'm very familiar with this process. Unfortunately, I do also have issues with my properties, but um, from time to time. But I guess what you're saying is that you can have the whole process managed from receiving their call, I have a problem, to source the vendor, to schedule book time with the vendor, to then follow up for the customer to show them, hey, here's the work was solved, right? Here's the proof. To then also charge and the whole fulfillment process. And it all can be done with human just supervision, but the actual work is through an agent. Is that
Yep,
right?
100%. And it can do it. It can literally just do it. And then some of the other things that happen. So, for example, we want job photos to be updated um, as part of the validation, process and procedure. So what AI can, how you can leverage AI is an agent can continuously be monitoring, and we've got GPS linked into the particular vendor too, and it could say, hey, I noticed you just left the customer's house and you didn't upload validation, so you didn't upload photos showing that the work was complete, or the company's house, the business location. So reminder, update this. And so, but an agent can do that as well, right? And so you can use it as reminders or assistance, or you can use it to autonomously, complete. And think about this as time goes, in 1 year, in 5 years, 50 years. Let's even go out 200 years. Let's become futurists. How do you think that's going to happen?
You know what? Forget the 200 years for now, because a lot of 5 years or less, like, which is just around the corner. I cannot see 100% of the activities done by just AI.
It's happening right now. Literally, all of the groundwork is happening. Yep. And I think, there's a little bit of skepticism and a little bit of denial, I would say too. I was riding in an Uber in, at CES, and we saw an autonomous cab,
Oh,
and
the Google's one, Zooks. Yeah,
yeah, Zook, exactly.
yeah,
Zook. There's Waymo's. There's a bunch of different companies trying to solve for this.
yeah.
And, the first thing I heard out of this driver is like, well, there's issues, it'll never take off. It creates, did you hear about the traffic jam that happened in San Francisco because of, there was a problem with one of the autonomous vehicles. And so it's not going to take off. It won't work. The, I don't think that skepticism and that thought process is, it's not valid. I mean, we're in the infancy, and the rate and the scale that this is advancing. Like, of course, there's going to be problems right now, but just because you see one little issue now doesn't
Exactly.
unvalidate in 1 year, in 5 years, that this is going to be completely figured out. If we're here as tiny little infancy babies in this process, and we can already have cars that do this, it's happening. It's 100% happening.
Absolutely. I always say I think there's kind of three segments or three groups of people. There's the one who opposed to it and the AI trend as a whole, and think, oh, that's never going to take off. It's not mature enough, which we know it's not true already today. I mean, we can see that. And there's the one who put their life on it. Like, everything is AI, right? I mean, I don't need doctors. I don't need anything. I mean, right? Dr. GPT is my new doctor. I don't need. So there are like 100% like just AI. But then there is the middle ground, which I believe you are there, myself included, is we understand there might be challenges right now, but we know technology, and we've seen other things in our lifetime, that we know it's gonna be better. Plus, the rate of innovation coming at us, it's me, that I live this day to day. It's hard to process, right? Every day there is something big announced, right? So we, for sure, that's gonna change, and to the better, right? But then I don't think that it's complete. I'm gonna, rely just on that. It's gonna be a combination of using that, and you're expected these days to deliver more using those tools. However, you need to protect or stand behind what you're delivering, even if it was done with AI, right? That's fine. But you need to make sure you understand the result. You need to make sure to qualify that it's good, because we know they make mistakes, but then you can deliver more, right? So it's a hybrid approach in a way and I think you and I are on the same page here. All right, look, this was amazing. I mean, so many things to talk about, and trust me, I can ask you about. We haven't talked about Link to MD, right? That's the name.
It
right?
is.
Or the startup that you're involved with the physicians. Uh, um, what is it? It's what should we call it? The
So workers'
remote
compensation.
telemedicine. Yeah,
And yeah, telemedicine, right? So in the workers' compensation field. So
in the work.
there's some very interesting technology happening with that
Yeah,
company,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So when a worker's injured, it's called triage that needs to happen. So basically, a worker's injured, and you need to make a phone call to a nurse. That's um, license and experience in triage. So what do you do then? Do you need to go to the hospital, or is this something that you can administer self care? Can you go into a walk in clinic? So we're basically taking a look at all of those processes that happen in the telematic or in the injured worker space, and from beginning to end, and how we can make those more efficient and really outcome driven. So the end goal is we want the worker to have a better experience, because right now the healthcare system, I mean, it is fractured. It's wild, some of the stuff you see, and it's so behind the times, and it's not outcome driven. So we want the worker to go back to back to health faster. We want them to have a better experience, and we want it to be a smoother process for them, right? So we leverage technology and people to do those. So we can triage now using agents. So in the past, you've had to use, you had to use people to go through and ask all these questions. Well, we've got Agentic AI that can do that triage process. And the benefit of that is you can do it so much faster, and you can access this knowledge base instantly, that outpaces, what anyone else could do. So it triages it, and then it connects them, if appropriate, connects them with a telemedicine doctor instantly. And so then a real doctor, gets on the telemedicine call with them, and it talks about what would just happen with the injury. They create a plan, and then they schedule subsequent and follow up appointments, and then takes them all the way to outcome, which is, return to health and ultimately return to work. So this entire process has agentic features to it the entire way through, right? And there's technology built into the SaaS, for Link 2, that helps the doctors and helps the coordinators, progress that patient all the way through outcome. And at the end of the day, right, Elad, it's about outcomes, and it's about improving lives. And every single one of the companies that at least that I work on, right? So in Growing Brilliant, we're improving education, and we're improving the outcome for the child and for the parent. Link 2, we're improving the outcome for the injured worker and for the employer. Legacy Lab, we're improving financial literacy and the success and happiness that the person is going to have in life. And in Revescape, we're making the experience for the vendor and for the property manager better, seamless, and smoother.
You actually answered my final question that I had for you, but I just want to. And funny thing is that I marked this section because I want to use it as the promo for this podcast. Right? What you just said, your last those last 2 minutes. But I want to um um uh another. I want you to refer to another aspect, exactly like what you mentioned about all those companies, right? And let's finish with, if you need to guess today, right, what would be the AI technology that will be used across all the companies that you are involved with, right? Because you just mentioned all the good stuff that you do in every company, and you're already using AI for that, but there is different way of how to use this AI, right? So the question is, if you need to guess, what would be the number one AI technology that will be used and will be common to all of the companies that you're involved with? What would that be?
I think it's agentic AI, right? And so really keeping in mind the outcome. So a lot of people are injecting AI as a marketing piece. And it's like, oh, we're AI powered, we're AI this, we're AI that. And they're not really thinking about the outcome and how that serves their customer or whatever the end goal is in mind, right? So they really need to step back and take a really careful and thoughtful process on how it really enhances and supports their end goal and outcome, not just to have some flashy thing and say that you're AI. And I think the answer to that is agentic, right? So once you mesh that human layer, that people layer in to agentic, you can utilize that technology to work on your behalf, work on the common thread and the common goal of advancing the outcome for your customer, right? So, for example, Growing Brilliant, the outcome that we want is we want this child to be set up and have a foundation and a head start in life, social, emotional, and intellectual, right? So that's the end outcome. Well, how can we do that? Well, our teachers are going to teach the live class. We're going to give them an assessment through technology. And then AI is going to help evaluate these assessments, the progress on where they are. And the agentic piece of it is it's going to do some of this autonomously. But then it's going to also pass on this information to real people and inject it. So to simply answer your question, it's agentic.
Beautiful. I can't agree more. And I must say I'm already using that
Good.
already with my business. So I definitely understand your point. Hey, Zack Hansen, this was a true pleasure. I have a feeling that we might need to do another episode because there's a lot to discuss. We didn't talk about the financial literacy at all, almost. With another company, the Legacy Lab, right? And I'm sure there's a lot also to talk about the telemedicine. So if you don't mind, I reserve the right to invite you again, and we can talk about those companies more. And in fact, I have an idea of matching you with another guest in my show that using thanks to AI, they can now create um, board games for education, and I
Oh,
can see that goes hand in hand. For example, with Legacy Lab, right? Just like what you do with the kids, they play and they don't understand that they are learning. We
yeah.
can do with adults. You play. Think about a modern monopoly. It's not the same all. And then you learn about, financial literacy, which I couldn't agree more that this country and the education system is lacking this. And I know this from firsthand, having 3 kids myself. So definitely would like to have you on the show and talk about that as well. Um, it was a pleasure. I want to thank you for the time and probably see you again.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Elad. This was a lot of fun, and I'm more than happy to come back on.
Thank you.
If AI feels overwhelming, you're not behind. You're just busy running a business. New tools pop up every week, and then no one has time to figure out what actually works. At LionEdge AI, we take AI off your plate so you can focus on running your business. We review your setup, choose the right tools, and run AI systems across sales, customer support, and operations. No noise, no learning curve. LionEdge AI, your unfair advantage in the AI era.